Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see so many people here for our workshop. Mauricio?
Okay, so Commissioner Jerry Joseph,
Here.
Commissioner Syverson, Commissioner Vizcarra,
Here.
Vice Mayor Lama,
Here.
Mayor Svechin,
Here.
all members present, ma'am.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so we have the first item on the agenda, which is 2A. For the next several items, Mayor, if I'm going to ask the commission to just please stay down there because they have photo ops. So in order to be less disruptive for the meeting, I'll just call the items as they come along, and then the person that will present or the photo op will just come up.
Sorry.
Okay.
Is that okay?
The only thing is that I'm going to ask if we can make a slight change and have 2B after, switch 2B and 2C.
Okay.
Because some kids are planning to come over from the school and they haven't gotten out yet.
So 2C before 2B.
Yes, if that's okay with everyone.
Got it. Okay, so the first item is the city manager, the Employee of the Year Award for 2023.
Is my microphone? Mayor, can we move to item, let's see.
2C?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we do 2C first,
Okay.
please? And then
All
move
right.
back to 2A.
Okay, so item 2C is a certificate of appreciation presented to Hector Vasquez of Miami-Dade County Public Library System.
Okay, wonderful. So this is, so just because we have so many people here, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what we're doing here. In the past, we had our full meeting at 6:30, and they kind of ran really late. So now, in order to allow as many people as possible to participate, we have our presentations and recognitions at 3 o'clock, and then we have our meeting later on at 6:30. So this allows a little bit more time to really acknowledge people. And so, as many of you know, we have a public library, and that library is not run by the city. It's run by Miami-Dade County. And everyone that works there is phenomenal. I think that they're all great. But I wanted to make sure that we recognize Hector, who's here today. And thank you to Ray for coming as well. Because Hector has really shown to our community a willingness to understand what sort of programs and events people would like to see that is very specific to them, and the way that he's able to just do things so quickly and with a smile, and always make everyone feel so welcome in these events. From, I don't know if anyone's gone to the toddler ones where they are jumping up and down and singing with the little kids, to the Toby's Hebrew Club. Now we have a very successful chess club. We have the Kiwanis that comes with the service dogs once a month for the kids that are potentially just learning to read and feel uncomfortable. There's a reading club. So all of these things are under the leadership of Hector, our librarian, and I just wanted to say thank you and acknowledge you.
Okay, so if you all could just go down
Okay.
for the
Yep.
photo op.
It's okay for the library director. Yes. This is Ray Baker, director of the library system. I manage the one library, he manages 49, because I usually have 50.
Stay right there. Commissioners, can you just stay down there? Please, just stay. Okay, so the next item is a certificate of appreciation presented to Sunny Isles Beach karate instructor Marco Masi.
Years of dedication to karate for the city.
Not yet, commissioners. Just stay here. I'll tell you when to come back up. So the next item, we're going back to the beginning, 2A, which is the 2023 Employee of the Year Award.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this is my esteemed Employee of the Year Award of the great work that all of our employees do throughout the year. And I think a lot of people don't understand that the day-to-day operations of the city are a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. Many people understand this from the police department perspective, but we also have other departments that operate this way. I often hear from the mayor, vice mayor, members of the commission in the evenings, on the weekends, on holidays, about issues that residents have contacted them. This person in particular responds to those complaints immediately. Many of these complaints involve life safety issues, such as maybe trees that are down or stop signs that have been knocked over by hit and runs. When I call on this Employee of the Year, he's always available, no matter what day, what time, and understands the significance of the issue. And the good news for me is that I only have to call once, and I don't have to worry about the issue being handled from that point forward. So for 2023, my Employee of the Year, who was also just recently promoted to the Public Works Director, is Fabrizio Volpi. Fabrizio.
Okay, no, just two more. So for 2F, we have the proclamation presented for Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and this is from Commissioner Joseph. Did you want to say anything? No. Okay, all right, sounds good. Okay, so now we have the presentation for Sergeant Patty Gonzalez, 2B. And that's from the chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Manager. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and honored guests, today, which is even more of a special day, February 15th, which many may not know, marks National School Resource Officer Appreciation Day. So we gather here to express our heartfelt gratitude to School Resource Sergeant Patty Gonzalez for her unwavering devotion to the DARE program that recently graduated. Sergeant Gonzalez has been a beacon of guidance and support, positively impacting countless lives through her dedication to fostering a safe and drug-free environment for our students. Her commitment to the DARE program has not only educated, but inspired our youth to make informed, responsible choices. For several years, Sergeant Gonzalez has tirelessly worked to empower students, instilling in them the confidence to resist the influence of drugs and make choices that lead to brighter futures. Beyond her role as a dedicated law enforcement officer, Sergeant Gonzalez has become an integral part of our school community with her approachable nature and genuine care for the well-being of our students have left an incredible mark on all who have had the privilege of knowing her. In addition, after school is released, Sergeant Gonzalez mentors the young minds at PCP Park's after-school program. As we commend Sergeant Gonzalez today, let us celebrate not only her professional achievements, but also her profound impact on the lives of the young minds she has guided. Her legacy will continue to resonate within the halls of Sunny Isles Beach K-8, reminding us of the positive change that can be achieved through passion, dedication, and genuine commitment to our community's well-being. On behalf of Principal Swam, 5th grade teacher Ms. Prelaz, all the other staff that is here today, and me, thank you, Sergeant Gonzalez, for your exceptional service and lasting imprint you've made on the hearts and minds of our students.
The school teachers want to come up for a photo op, please. The school teachers. And that's it. You guys can come back up.
Okay.
So the last one, the last presentation, Mayor, is the Black History Month, and I
Yes.
believe Commissioner Vizcarra wanted to just say a
Yes.
few words.
Thank you.
No, this is Black History Month, so we'll be acknowledging that, and we have a certificate that we'll be sending along. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge it, and we're gonna move on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we're on to discussion items. Item 3A, which is discussion regarding the creation of a Hebrew club.
Okay, so that is my item. So I want to preface this by saying, actually what I started saying about the library is, I think all of us can agree up here that our role is really to fulfill sort of the wishes of the community through legislative action, and not necessarily getting involved, or rather not getting involved in the day-to-day. That's why we have staff. So normally I wouldn't present something like this unless there was what I felt a very strong reason. And I'd like to read my memo just so that we have it for those that are watching or in the audience. So the Hebrew Club, and thank you, Toby Barron, for being here. The Hebrew Club serves a municipal purpose as it brings together children to learn a new language, sing songs, and learn about holidays. Further, the city of Sunny Isles Beach has historically sponsored and advertised religious events and programs, including Egg Scramble, St. Patrick's Day, Christmas tree lighting, Christmas toy drive, and others. By including the option of the club in the CASE program, and the CASE program is our aftercare program, or rather, in lieu of aftercare, it allows for children or parents to sign up their kids for various activities. The city is neither establishing a religion nor preventing others from practicing their religion. Lastly, other municipalities also have Hebrew clubs, as well as Miami-Dade County, which signifies that this really is up to the governing body to determine if this is a suitable municipal purpose. Ms. Toby Barron has requested to run an after-school Hebrew club within the CASE program. Ms. Barron already runs a monthly club, like I mentioned earlier, at the Sunny Isles Beach Library, which has a great turnout. And I thank some of the parents that are here in support. And I took some pictures of the last event. Obviously, you know, we have the kids' faces are blocked out, but I can tell you that it was, I believe that there could have easily been there 30 people, if not more. And it's mixed. It's not just for Jewish kids. Anyone can go. And I think that's really important because this is a very much a cultural club. So I've had many discussions with the city manager and our city attorney because we started going back and forth on whether this was an appropriate use of municipal, or rather if it has a municipal purpose. And why am I mentioning that? Because that's really, anything that we decide, we have to use that as sort of the criteria. Is this for the good of the community? And I'd like for this body to have this discussion because it potentially sets up a policy going forward. One of the questions that I got from staff was, well, this opens up, you know, the door for all other clubs, which I support very much. If our community supports something and they sign up for it and they want it, I think that it's great. And really one of the biggest things that I actually forgot to mention is Mrs. Toby Barron is willing to do it for free. So she's putting in all this energy and effort, and she has been for over 25 years. I commend her for that because she continues to really serve the children and families of this community regardless of their religion. And I can tell you that, you know, there's absolutely, there's so many studies that say that learning another language helps for many reasons, and Hebrew being that language, and which is not available at our school, and it's not available in any high schools around the area that I know of, is really a benefit to our community. And then before I ask for what you all think, and this is not a vote, just so you all know, this is a conversation, and one of the reasons that we have it like this is so that we can have an open conversation with, you know, so the public can hear us. Normally, if any of the staff is not recommending something, or in this case with the city attorney, him and I have been going back a lot on this. He wrote a lengthy memo and revised memo saying that he doesn't believe that this is something that we should be supporting. Normally, I think that, you know, taking what the staff is recommending for or against is something that we need to take very seriously, because that's why, you know, we hire them and we pay them, is for them to give their expertise. So it does require a real higher bar to, you know, we have to meet that higher bar to sort of go against what a senior staff member is recommending for or against. So I'd like to hear what the rest of the commission thinks about this, just your thoughts. You know, like I said, we're not voting. So.
I'll go last.
You'll go last, okay. Does anyone have any thoughts on this? Commissioner Viscar, Vice Mayor Lama.
Do you want? Oh, okay, so I'll open. Okay, it's just I saw a lot of thoughts. But to start, I just want to say I think it's lovely to have a forum where children can learn either a new language. I myself was the Sunday school teacher in my church for a few years, and it's a really nice thing to do for kids. But there is a place for it, and I don't believe that the city is that place. The mayor brings up a couple of things. It's good to learn a new language, a municipal purpose. But before we even consider, let's remove this for a second. Let's assume that it's gymnastics. Before we consider whether we could or should offer gymnastics, the first thing we need to do is it permitted by law? We take an oath that says we will uphold the Constitution and the laws. And this isn't. I had a conversation with Mrs. Barron and the rabbi, and I appreciated the conversation because you were very honest about your intention and what you plan to do. And then I spoke to the city, and the facts were essentially the same. So there was no dispute as to the facts. Your intention is to bring children, the small children, and to have the songs and prayers and part of the culture and crafts. And with that, then we're entering into that religious component that the laws don't permit us. And I read the memo a couple of times, and I found it very persuasive. And I myself, just for those who don't know, I'm an attorney, and my concentration in law school, which was Yeshiva University, was constitutional law. So this tracked for me. I found it persuasive, and I think if anything, then we err on the side of caution. If we're not sure, we err on the side of caution. We shouldn't be exposing ourselves to that kind of a constitutional challenge. And that said, there are other remedies. It's not like this is the only way that this service can be provided. I understand that once there was a club in the school that did something similar, and that the city corroborated. Once they did that hour after school, if they were with the after-school program, we would go and pick up the kids, and there was no problem there. There's nothing preventing the parents from creating that program themselves through their organization. So it's not like this is the only possible way that this need can be met. And I would encourage, and the school has the legal capacity to do that. We do not. So there are avenues. This is not like the only possibility. And there being other options, I don't see why we would have to open up the city for that kind of challenge or liability. Let me see what else.
So if I can, while you gather your thoughts, to clarify, that is the back and forth that the attorney and I were having, which was whether this is or isn't allowed under the law. And that is really the conversation that we should be having, because if this is allowed within the Miami-Dade County Library, if the city of Aventura is doing this within their aftercare, the city of Bay Harbor used to do this. So this isn't setting any new precedent. And for me, it's more of a, if we do this and nobody signs up, then it's fine. If we do this and 20, 30 people sign up, then we know there's a need. Mm-hmm. I don't see any liability here at all. This is something that is very normal in the communities. If there's a community that has a large population of of religion or a group, they support that group. This is not for me. And again, I obviously I want to defer to you. Your attorney, the two attorneys, but I spent an enormous amount of time, researching this, and I just so that it's clear where I'm coming from. This is about the First Amendment. And the First Amendment protects the people, as I understand it in plain language, from the government forcing you to practice a religion in order to participate in the government, but it also protects the people to practice their religion without any restrictions. The problem here is the entanglement. That is where it becomes the question. How much is the government entangled into something that has a religious component? And I would counter that the state of Florida, allows you to take your public dollars and go to a private school that is a religious school. Later on this evening, when we have our commission meeting, we're going to have an invocation where everyone, bows their head. We pledge allegiance to the flag and we say God. So this isn't something that I think is novel. This is something that I think is normal. And since we don't have anyone opposing it, that's the conversation I want to have. Why are we working so hard against
I'll
it?
address your point. I think Aventura is doing it wrong. I don't know of any other municipality who's offering it. I didn't spend a lot of time, but I did a search on like what Hebrew Club was, and everything that I saw, with the exception of the flyer that popped up for this city, it's all tied to, the Hebrew Club is, to me, and I could be wrong, because again, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but it seems to all be tied to a Chabad. And it seems to have a religious component to it. But that aside, it doesn't even matter what's going on anywhere else. Everything you mentioned has case law surrounding it. The Pledge of Allegiance, mentioning God, the invocation, all of that is addressed separately. So it's not that it doesn't make everything normal. It is the entanglement component. And the intention when I spoke to the parents was to address crafts and culture and all these things. It's open to everybody. But that doesn't cure the part about using religious texts and prayer, and that's not permitted. And that's addressed very clearly in this memo, which I don't want to go through, but if you want to sit here
I
and
don't.
like
It's a
read
very,
the whole thing, we
it's
can,
a
so
ve-
everybody can know where I'm coming from.
It's a very long memo.
So it is.
And look, I want to hear from everyone else because I get your point. I just, you just reminded me about something which we actually did together a few years back during aftercare for Hanukkah. We read Hanukkah books and we lit the menorah in our aftercare. That's that has a very religious component. You and I
And
did
maybe
that.
we shouldn't have done it. I don't know. I haven't thought about
I
that.
thought it was a beautiful
It
thing.
was beautiful. It was beautiful. All of this is beautiful, and it should be. I don't have any problem with it being done. I think our children should have access to this, but I don't think it needs to be provided by the city. I think that's a problem. But if we can find another way to make it happen, that would be great.
Yeah, please.
If it was the priest that he comes from the Catholic Church, and he said that because of budget or anything else, he cannot continue giving the catechesis classes for the kids that are going to do the first communion. And he comes to us in this same setting, asking to do it at the school as a club and have the opportunity of the kids that the parents that want to sign up the kids for that class, for us to help them do it, I will say yes. The same thing that I will say yes to the Hebrew Club. So for me, it's not about choosing one religion over the other one. It is about giving the service to our community. I understand the legality about it. I read about it as well. Maybe for the sake of the conversation, will be good to hear from Alan directly, if you can give us a summary so people know what we're talking about, because we read the memo. I don't think anybody else read the memo, so maybe he can give a little summary so they know what we're talking about. But I do believe that we have to give to the community what they're asking for. And there is, I don't see anything wrong. I understand the legality, I do. But it's something that is being done through the years in different settings. It's a beautiful thing, and I would like actually to be able to accommodate whoever wants to come with a similar request and be able to facilitate for our people to be able to have that opportunity, and to the parents. So technically, we were not even supposed to have an aftercare. We have it with another name, but that's what we have. So this being part of our aftercare, I totally support that. So maybe we can allow Alan,
if
please.
you don't mind.
We haven't taken money for any of the other things. For the aftercare, people would have to pay for it. We haven't taken money for any of the other things that we've done.
I don't
Like
believe this
the-
is going to
the
be
little-
free. It's going to be, if it's part of the
Well, my
aftercare.
point is,
Okay.
for the other things that we've done, the lighting and, the corroboration that we've done, it's always been, city it's never been registration and taking money.
Well, if we
Like,
are paying
this
with the
is-
tax
this is-
dollars, we are
there's-
taking money from the people.
There's this is different. I'm just telling you.
Oh, okay. If you don't mind, Mr. Singh.
I won't, and I'm going to try to be as succinct as possible. It's a very involved, nuanced area of the law. First, with municipal purpose, it's beyond municipal purpose. What occurs to the extent that we've called it entanglement. The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, both of the U.S. Constitution and the Florida Constitution, not just prohibits, as it states, the fact that the government can't establish a formal religion, but through the years, same thing with the Fourth Amendment right to privacy. There's no such thing as a right to privacy in the Constitution. That was developed over the years in jurisprudence. The Establishment Clause prohibits the government, basically, government action that unduly favors one religion over another, or from unduly preferring religion over non-religion or non-religion over religion. It basically requires neutrality, and Commissioner Vizcarra is correct with the extent that we're kind of mixing apples and oranges when we refer to invocations. You'll notice on your money you have "In God We Trust," right? Those things have all been treated differently through a whole line of decades worth of different analyses based on what occurs. With education, though, it's very different. And the crux here is the fact that it would be a city initiated, sponsored, it would be essentially a city club. And to bring it down to the lowest common denominator, essentially it would be the city, not necessarily Barron, but the city would be taking on the education of and the dissemination of religious materials to children in a religion it has chosen. Not in all religions, but in one religion. So effectively, the city is putting this forward, and it's chosen its religion. And that's what the Establishment Clause prohibits. Now, when you go to the Florida Constitution, there's an added issue with regards to the no aid clause, where you can't use money in efforts to contribute to, as we've spoken to before, Vice Mayor, to contribute to religious organizations or aid religious organizations. That's on the Florida side. But the U.S. Constitution side, unfortunately, and anything that's deemed to be, whether it be prayer, the use of religious texts, even if you were to take religious text and you were to read it as to teach Hebrew, for example, you can call it teaching Hebrew, but you're also reading that text. And especially if you read it as truth, and I would expect Mrs. Barron or anyone else, religious person, I wouldn't expect them to detract from the fact that it is truth. The mere fact that you consider it to be truth is teaching religion. And regardless of which constitutional tests you use, historically it has never been proper for government to educate or to instruct in the way of religion. As to the other municipalities, I've, at the request of the mayor, I spoke with Mr. Baker, actually, I wish he was still here, and he assured us that there was no religious programming. He shared with me an email from Hector that, in fact, it's more of a book club or reading club. There's incidental references during holidays to, a particular holiday or things of that sort, but it's not, there's no instruction involved. I called the city attorney for the city of Aventura. He was not even aware they were doing it, and they're now looking into it because, in discussing it. I spoke to general counsel and deputy general counsel of Miami-Dade County Schools, and schools are completely different. They act in a custodial capacity, which is one of the recommendations I made in my memo. The schools cannot offer any sort of religious programming or education. What they do is they allow, under the Equal Access Act, mostly for secondary schools, the ability for student-driven clubs. So if you have a geology club or you have a philosophy club, under the other clauses of the First Amendment, you have to also allow open access and equal access with regards to that. So they're student-driven. There's no contractual agreement with whoever's putting it forward. They do assign a teacher for purposes of custodial responsibilities, so they make sure the clubs follow school policy, things of that sort. And that's what occurs in schools, which is one of the options I had given here based on the scenario that was provided, that space, the city could offer space, let's say downstairs first meeting room, to conduct this. But again, it comes down to the constitutional infirmity comes down to the fact that it would be a city club, where it's the city providing this religious education or religious instruction or religious content versus a third party that may be using city property.
So I just want to add to that, and then we'll go back to Commissioner Stuyvesant, is I don't agree that we would be choosing a religion, because we would not be preventing anyone else from doing the same thing. And as far as the school is concerned, I can tell you for a fact there used to be a Hebrew club there, not run by Toby, but by Rabbi Kaller, which was not student-driven, did not have a sponsor. They were using that club, they were using the facility, and they were a third party. But I look at it as very similar to karate or the Russian Theater Club. If we have other people that are not city employees come and run those programs for us, but we're not forcing anyone.
It's not a matter of forcing anyone. It's the fact that you are offering it. You are essentially choosing. You have decided as a city, let's say you go forward with, you've decided as a city that you are going to be instructing children with regards to religious content and religious prayer. It's going to be Judaism. You've chosen that. That's the selection you have made. Regardless of whether someone is compelled to do it or not, you're showing preference for one religion over another. And it's not the fact that someone has come forward, because that would be different. If you have, let's say, as to Commissioner Stuyvesant's point, you have the priest come and wanting to do catechism, or you have Mrs. Barron coming wanting to do the Hebrew club. It's not a matter of them coming to you to do it. Here, you are choosing as a city to create this. So
Only
that's why
because
there's
this is
this.
the first.
Excuse me?
There may be others after this one.
Well,
which would-
correct.
Which would open up the door to have it be less of a,
But this is where you get
issue
into
for us.
where, but again, that's based on people coming to you. Here, you're creating, you are creating something and you've made a decision. The next time, you would have to create it. You would have to create the Christian club. You would have to create the Hindu club. You would have to do it. You can't just wait for people to come and actually
But-
do it for you or suggest it to you. This is a city club. That's why if you do it in a custodial capacity like the schools do and the library does to a certain extent, you allow, it's the same thing. You allow the space, it occurs. It can be here at the city. You offer the space, whether by rental agreement, by cost or no cost, and you have the same service that's provided. The constitutional aspect comes down, and when you make reference to, let's say, the Russian dance or theater, that doesn't invoke the Establishment Clause.
All right, so let's.
And then on the flip, if
How about the egg scramble? We have the egg scramble coming up. That's clearly an Easter event.
True, and I'm going to be careful to comment on things the city has done in the past on certain things.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave it that way. Certain things, and we've talked about it before, like with holiday decorations. Again, another line of cases has addressed that, because especially when it comes to, let's say, egg scramble. If you know anything about Christianity,
I do.
it's very, very secular. Eggs, Easter bunnies, everything else, very secular. You go to a Catholic church or to a Baptist church, they're going to be really, that's not about eggs, it's not about Easter bunnies, it's about Jesus, right?
Right, the eggs is symbol.
Right. Well,
It's,
not so, no, it's not really a symbol of Jesus Christ. But in any event, if you go to, even to Christmas, a lot of it, they've dealt with it as, and there's a series of cases, we're not going to go down this rabbit hole necessarily, because it's another huge line of cases. Same thing with monuments, same thing with invocations, same thing with, they all have different lines of cases. Here you're touching upon, though, offering a service that actually will educate children in the way of religion, and that clearly, regardless of what standards you use for the last 50, 60 years, even back to the Founding Fathers, it's never been a function of government to provide this kind of education.
okay.
So from a constitutional standpoint, that's the infirmity. But to Commissioner Vizcarra's point, there are ways, I don't want to say around it because that sounds nefarious, but there are ways of doing it where you can have the same service, but do it in a way that it doesn't put the city at potential in
Well,
harm's way.
ultimately, like you've said in the past, it's the will, whatever the will of the commission is. So I want to hear from everyone else.
I would just
Without
want to,
interrupting.
I want to add something to Jerry's point that if we do it, it opens up the door for others and it would make it okay. Completely disagree with that. Just like Aventura doing it doesn't open up the doors for us, in my opinion, because if it's unconstitutional over there, even though they're doing it, it's unconstitutional over here. Other people doing it doesn't make it legal. A lot of people wanting it doesn't make it legal, right? The egg scramble, I think this opens up an interesting conversation because we probably should really look at all of our programming and see what needs to be reconsidered. Because I think historically we've all done, what people want, and it's been nice, and people are happy, and we don't think about it because we have our own perspectives, right? And nobody's complaining, and it's fine. But maybe we should really. I don't think the egg scramble matches because again, there's case law around that. But if it's problematic for people, we can reconsider the egg scramble.
I haven't
don't have
heard
a
anyone
problem with that.
complain. Just to expand for other holidays, that's my only, what I've heard, is if you have one, you should have more for the other.
Okay, just to finish because Alan mentioned the founding fathers. So in the preamble of the Constitution, it says, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty." That's the second line, written by our founding fathers, speaking about blessings of liberty. And I think we're talking about the liberty of doing this for people, and I think the word blessing is pretty much a religious word in the second line of the preamble of the Constitution, and this is known by everybody, $1, and what it says, "In God we trust." So I think the connection between government and God or religion, whatever you want to use it, is everywhere, including in this $1 bill. So, and it's a request. Right now, it's not that we are choosing to teach Hebrew to the people. We do actually have a request from Toby Barron, Ms. Barron, and she wants to do it. So it's not it's coming out of our head. There is a request. So it's not we are choosing to do it. Somebody come to us because she want to continue doing it, what she's been doing in the past.
No, and it's a wonderful thing. The issue comes down to the way that it's being proposed. It would be the city. It's not Mrs. Barron coming to do it. It is the city's program, not Mrs. Barron. With regards to the money in the preamble, that touches upon, again, that whole series of cases dealing with the historical, no, it is. And no doubt that's recognized in the case law dealing with those things. So, for example, invocations. Invocations have been permitted because they're not seen as an endorsement of religion. The one caveat, though, is that the courts do require, as we do here, that you invite all denominations, and then those that come that want to do it. But you still have to invite all invocations. And that's based on, if you go back to, again, the Founding Fathers, the courts have looked at it. There are certain traditions that either honoring a particular monument or the invocations where a private prayer is used to bless or impose a blessing upon a congenial body. It's not the city actually taking that on. Now, if you as a city would say, well, only Christian prayer, that's the only kind of invocations we're going to have, then you get into problems, right? Here, the problem is that you're not just issuing a blessing. Here you are instructing. And that's where the courts have taken particular attention when it comes to education. And again, you're talking about 60, 70 years worth of debate in courts that, obviously we can't replicate here today. But I was talking to Commissioner Vizcarra, and, in law school, you can dedicate an entire semester on this issue and you still don't cover everything. So
Look, I don't want to belabor, I want to hear from everyone, but I do want to, again, just as a reminder, the government does sponsor religious education. Tax dollars pay for religious education on a regular basis.
That's a whole other line of cases
I'm
too, and the
just saying,
vouchers.
with the argument of government-sponsored education of religion, it is happening. But anyways, enough about Vice Mayor, please. What do you think?
So, I'm just trying to think of ways of perhaps, we could, sorry. Not us, the city. Obviously, there's the thing about constitutional law, both, federal law and Florida state law about separation of church and state. So you had mentioned, Alan, perhaps some solutions that we could consider. I understand the entanglement issue where, we cannot expend resources, city resources or government resources to support a religious activity, teachings, et cetera. So I'm just trying to think outside of the box of what can be done. And I know in your memo, you talked about perhaps renting a space, allowing for this Hebrew school to use the space. And, I think we need to be mindful of separation of church and state, but perhaps look at some solutions that we could discuss. I mean, obviously, we're not going to come to an agreement here. I think it's a complex matter, and I'd like to see if perhaps you could shed some light on some potential solutions.
The solution essentially was just as you stated, where you act in a custodial, what's been referred to as a custodial function, as the Miami-Dade County Schools and all school boards do, where you're allowing this club to occur on your premises, but you only have a custodial role, where you're providing the space. There may be a staff point person to make sure that you get in correctly, there's enough seats, you have the right tables, things of that sort, but it's not the city putting it forward. It's actually a private third party that comes in to actually run the club and have it here, where it's not the city that's actually putting it on. That's the distinction, and that's where you can take it out of the problematic constitutional side and have it still occur, and probably in the same beneficial function, except that the city has sort of a hands-off the way the schools do, where it's custodial only.
Well, before I pass it off to Commissioner Joseph, I just want to clarify for everyone what we're talking about. The idea is to incorporate it within the CASE program so that the children that are already there physically can participate in this if they choose. If it is separate from that, then it prevents those children that are in that program from participating, because they would literally be 2 blocks away from each other. So the idea is to incorporate it into our programming as part of our programming, so that it makes it easier and more accessible. That's what we're talking about, not necessarily whether we can do it or not. But finish your point so then we can hear from
I have another
Commissioner
question.
Joseph.
So let's say we, the commission, vote in favor of this. It's something that'll be in favor and it'll be in contradiction with the law. How does that work?
I disagree.
There are traps that you have to sidestep.
There are
And-
what? I'm
and
sorry.
There are traps in
What do you mean
the
trap?
Constitution
Okay. Mhm.
that, we would have to set
No,
up.
I'm just
to
asking the
sidestep.
question. I'm thinking about it. So
Right.
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If we voted to move forward,
Mhm.
we would have to sidestep those traps in the organization of the club and the way that it's set up and managed, in order that the city doesn't get into those traps. And that would be something that
That's-
Alan,
That's another
Would-
discussion.
So, again, in answer to your question, if you go forward with it, again, and you all know this very well, all I'm here to do is offer advice. I don't make decisions. You don't have to listen to me. But if it does occur, and let's say someone challenges it with respect to the fact that the city may be violating constitutional law, you could get sued. Unfortunately, I've been in different contexts on the wrong side of that with the ACLU and other organizations that take exceptions to these things. There are individuals out there that look for these things. So that's the exposure you have. Typically, in those types of cases, attorney's fees are the drivers, where nominal damages, typically if your constitutional rights as a resident are violated because the city somehow violated the Establishment Clause, the damages themselves are usually very nominal, anywhere from $1 to anything. Where it hits you is the attorney's fees, because then they're entitled to attorney's fees if they prevail. So that's the exposure that, you know, you're essentially facing.
Has anyone been sued for having a Hebrew club?
I'm not that I'm aware of, but again, I only know of Aventura having the Hebrew Club.
Right, yeah, so I think that we have a lot bigger exposure with egg scramble and Christmas trees and those sort of things than having,
There's case law for that.
I
Yeah,
understand
that's
that. But let's,
protected,
because we're already at 3:50, I know you wanted to go last.
Well, I would just like to say that in my business, I deal on a daily basis with case law and defining statutes, and I read Alan's definitions and, you know, his memo to us, and I believe, like I said to Vice Mayor Lama, that there are traps in the Constitution and the Florida Constitution that need to be sidestepped, but there are methods of sidestepping those, and I believe if we vote to move forward, which I am one of those votes to move forward, that there are ways to have this set up in a manner that would be, you know, palatable to all. And if we have another group that comes forward, we would, in the same manner, satisfy those needs.
So, okay, because I do want to recognize that we have other items on the agenda. It seems to me that we have a consensus. So what is it that we need to do, Mr. City Manager, in order to facilitate this?
Well, based on, you know, the general consensus, we can move forward the next step and discuss the parameters and the budget of implementing the program.
Okay.
Hold on, consensus on moving forward with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
As presented?
As presented, or are we're gonna discuss a solution where we could probably perhaps implement this in a way where we're not entangled religiously, and we're not going against the Constitution? I mean, I'm just trying to understand the context. What
That's
As
the only way you
as,
can move.
as presented by you, we're gonna have a program that's within
I'm not,
our case.
I'm presenting it on behalf of the residents. So
Yeah,
this is my
yeah,
program, let me
yeah.
Right.
clarify that. The program would be very similar, if not exactly like the program that Toby runs with the library,
Understood. Okay.
which is advertised by the
And
library
it's gonna be part of our city programming,
case programming,
case
yes.
programming. Okay.
And the implementation, so that we don't fall into one of those traps, is all in how it's set up and managed.
Well,
that's
that's
the
right,
key, though.
that's-
We
that's
need
the
to see
key,
how we
though.
set it
If-
up. I mean,
If you do go forward with having it as part of your care program, there is no sidestepping or any sort of way to manage it where you are getting out of constitutional entitlement, constitutional issues. So that's where I think it's either you move forward like intended or as proposed by Mrs. Tobin, or you don't, or because otherwise there's really no way to craft it where if it's part of your care program, it's part of your care program.
Right, so what I'm proposing is that as presented, the same way that she does it at the library, is for that to be what she's allowed to do for no cost. She's willing to do it for free, although we would charge for the children to facilitate it. And that's what I believe we have a consensus on. Am I correct?
And not to be argumentative, but I just want to be clear that when I spoke to Mr. Baker through Hector, well, his information was coming through Hector, that what occurs as the library is a sort of book reading club. It's not a Hebrew club. And the director was very clear about that because the library wouldn't allow any sort of religious content in that context. And that's what he told me.
Okay, so Miami, and I do want to stop the conversation because we keep going on this, but the Miami-Dade County Library offers programming, not necessarily just here, for Passover, for Christmas, for Kwanzaa, for Easter. These are all advertised programs by the Miami-Dade County Library. System.
Right, but but this is different. This isn't just about a holiday. This is, you're going to be instructing children how to pray. You're going to be instructing them from passages from the Torah, things of that sort. It's a different type of, again,
It's-
just based on my conversation
Okay,
with Mr.
so
Baker.
it would be, like I said, it would be whatever it is that she's doing already. It's not a Hebrew
That's not what was
school.
presented. That's not what's in here.
It's
And we
what
don't
she's
even-
currently doing right now.
But what was presented to us is not what she's currently doing in the library.
It is.
Well, I don't know what currently doing in the library means. What was presented to us is religious instruction, reading from the Torah, and crafts.
If I have,
Okay, so look. Okay.
I do have the email from Mr. Baker who quotes Ms. Hector with regards to what occurs at the library, if you want me to read it.
No, I do not, because I don't want to keep going with this. I want to get a sense from this commission if we are comfortable with what is already accepted at the library to occur within the case program. That is, so whatever that may be, what has been happening historically, whatever they're doing there, to allow it to happen at Pelican Park.
So what's
Are
happening
they reading from the
in
Torah in the library?
No,
Yeah,
no, they do not read from the
there
Torah.
is not.
All right. Are we doing prayer in the library?
Yeah, that's
If-
what I was asking.
I don't know.
Is the library connected with the CASE program?
No.
No.
Again, the director explains precisely what they believe occurs. It says, it's a story time that uses books pulled from our own shelves, and the craft is usually something like making a paper hat. It's done in collaboration with the local Shabbat. We do enter into Communico, I guess it's one of their systems, as a collaborated program, but it's far from being a religious lecture of any kind. I'm usually there at the start of the program, and it's open to all and everyone. When it's a major holiday, such as Passover, etc., we might emphasize it. Since New Year just passed, we emphasized yesterday's program as a New Year's for Trees program as well. And that's what was characterized
Okay,
as what occurs
so
here at the library.
I just, Mr. City Manager, do you have what you need from us? Because I know that we can probably go on about this. This is a hot topic, and this is,
Right. And I think I'd like to maybe put that in the form of a resolution, bring back to you.
okay,
Craft it that way so we can define some of the parameters.
that
Perfect.
works for me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we can move on.
All right. Thank you. All right, so the next item, Mauricio.
The next item is the Pelican Community Park hours.
Okay, so this is, again, this is my item that was at the request of some parents. Some of them are here today. Thank you for coming. Regarding the park hours at Pelican Park. And for those that are watching or don't know, we, as you may know, work very closely with the school. So the school uses our facility during the school day, the playground, the gym, the field, and at this time it's completely open because it is a public park to the use of anyone that would like to go there, including the bathrooms, not the gym, but certainly the playground. There was concern, and this has been a conversation for many years actually, kind of goes in and out, but there was a recent concern from parents about persons that were, able to access the area, and,
Safety issue.
it's a huge safety issue. So rather than reading my memo, I'd like to read from the email that I believe all of us got from Ms. Bridget Jones, who's here. Thank you very much. My name is Bridget Jones. I'm a parent of 4 at NSC SIB K-8. I volunteer frequently at the school and spend a considerable amount of time at Pelican Park every week. The purpose of this email is to revisit the ongoing debate regarding the temporary closure of Pelican during specific hours and to allow our school to utilize it exclusively. Sunny Isles Beach Parks are valuable community spaces that offer recreational opportunities. As a parent, my primary concern is safety of my children. The temporary closure of Pelican Park for exclusive school usage during a specific time frame and specific days, increases the safety of the school-aged children. When a park is closed for exclusive school usage, the school can have better control over the environment without additional security or personnel. And I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. In the event of an emergency, having exclusive school usage of this park allows for a quicker and more organized response. Additionally, parks offer a unique outdoor learning environment that can complement traditional classroom settings. Balancing the needs of the school community with the public's right to access public spaces is essential. Closing Pelican Park temporarily for exclusive school usage will not limit our Sunny Isles Beach residents' usage of parks, as we have a plethora of them. Particularly Margolis, which is in close proximity. So the idea here is the actual facility, Pelican, would not be closed to the community. Just the playground, the restrooms, and the field would be closed to the rest of the community. And especially, I think I think this conversation first came up after the tragedy that the anniversary was yesterday of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Was how do we harden our spaces so that our most vulnerable residents are safe? So what do you all think about that?
Okay, when we talk about closing, exactly what is it? What is the proposal? From when to when? What are we talking about?
So as far as I understood from the parents, and I don't think that they're actually, they have different ideas about what this is, and we have spoken about this in the previous years. In fact, I think there was even a solution proposed, which was to have a separate exit and then to allow others that don't use the park. So it would be during school hours.
Which
So
means,
from 8 to 3.
okay, that is totally unacceptable. The only compromise we can have is until 1:30. Why? Because the parents that have 2 kids and they come, we know that the dismissal of the kindergarten and first graders is at 1:50. Then the older children is at 3:05. So, and we have many parents that have different age children. So let's say as an example, like a parent with a kindergartner and a second grader. So that parent comes around 1:30 to pick up the kid and then goes and sit down in the playground to wait for the other siblings. So if we close until 3, we are gonna have all those parents or caregivers, grandparents, whatever we wanna call them, with those little kids running around or sitting down around the playground in Pelican Park without having really a place where to be. Not only that, just remember, I had the pleasure of sitting down in that playground for almost like 10 years with my children. And I say the pleasure because it's also a privilege to be able to do that with your kids. So, and actually I met some here in the commission, some of the people sitting down there during those times. So it is a very good setting. It's a very good dynamic. The kids are playing. They don't have a real recess, like we know. Like only the kindergartners and the first graders, they go for around 15 to 20 minutes to the playground every single day, weather permitting. Otherwise, they don't have any other time to actually socialize. Many children, when they come from other countries and they don't speak good the language or they are falling behind, they don't even have PE because they take that time for extra reading, extra math, etc. So we have our children from 8 to 3 in a very much educational setting, like traditional education without that social component. So that hour that they can have in the playground to run, to do everything that a child is going to be doing during those times, I don't want to compromise and take that away from our kids, from our parents, from our people. I do believe, and we're having this conversation actually for 15 years now, about not feeling so secure in when the children are going to the playground. And actually even the playground as it is has changed. We didn't used to have the fence that we have right now, etc. And it's because of the concern of the community. So I get it, and my child is gonna be a kindergartner this August. So anything safety is even personal for me. But my point is that we cannot take the right, the freedoms of our people to sit down and there and wait for their kids. I'm for closing from the beginning, the 8 in the morning until 1:30. But after 1:30, I think we do more of a harm and a disservice to our people.
So and this is, again, you know, you and I have talked about this for years now, and so I don't disagree with you. My only comment to that, and again, I'm just bringing what, you know, the parents wanted is, you know, the older kids use that area at the end of the day, and so that combination of the little kids and the older kids, I always has made me very uncomfortable. And it's you know, the bathroom is something that is really important for me, for them to be able to use, so that it's not, you know, you don't have the intersection of those little kids and then the older kids going to those places. So I think that, you know, that's why I want to have this conversation. I wanted to just quickly ask the city manager, as far as, I know that you've spoken to the chief and you have, I'm sorry, no, no.
Takes me away. So the older kids, they get out at 3:05. So until and the little kids, my point is that precisely what you're saying. If we allow the little ones to be from 1:30 to 3:05 there alone, which they are going to be, because the big kids are not out just yet. I don't see why we need to close until 3. At 3, then you're telling me you are going to open for actually everybody, including the big kids. So if we can perfectly be closed until 1:30. Again, and when we talk about the big kids, I also have big children, and I don't like to talk about the big kids as like if they're bad by default. We have had good kids and bad kids, and that's going to always happen over the years. Like I said, I've been sitting down in that playground for a long time, and the big kids actually help are really good with the little kids. Do we have incidents? We always have had incidents. We had incidents of the big kids sometimes kissing, sometimes fighting. Yeah, they're human, they're little, they're growing. I think that's part of that process. So yeah, do we need maybe to have more parents there taking care of their children and not just letting them run free? But that's a different conversation about closing the playground for the public. And another point that is really important, the people needs to know that when it's going to be closed for the bad actors, it's true, but it's going to be closed for all the parents as well. So you guys, anyone who's asking
and that's exactly,
to be closed,
right.
Don't believe that because you have the tag of being a parent, you are suddenly allowed to be there. Nobody, no one is going to be allowed to be there. Good people, bad people, etc. It's going to be for the children. So be careful what you are asking for, because it's going to take everyone the right to be there, including parents and caregivers. So you're going to see from outside of the fence the kids in the aftercare running around, and they're going to be having a good time, and they're going to bring the reindeers actually in Christmas, etc. And your kids cannot be there because you're going to be on the other side of the fence. So we need to be careful what we're doing.
No, and wait a second. I just want to. Do I have a consensus that we continue, because we're past 4 o'clock?
I'd just like to mention something.
Wait. Like do we have a?
Yes.
Are we
Yes.
okay? Is everyone okay with continuing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. 1 second, please, Vice Mayor. I just want to mention that I was not suggesting that the kids are bad. It's just, as older kids do, they sometimes have different language. They sometimes say things that we don't necessarily want the little kids to hear. I just wanted to hear from the city manager, and then Commissioner Joseph wanted to go next, if you don't mind.
Yes, Mayor, I have had this discussion with the chief, and as always, the chief and we prefer, security and hardening our facilities at any option, so.
Okay.
That's just what I was going to say, actually. That I'm not for the closure, but I'm for more security at the park. I've received numerous emails and phone calls, and everyone is regarding more security at Pelican Park. So if that could be accomplished, that would be wonderful, and I believe it would cure a lot of the emails and all that we're receiving.
So I just want to get clarification, because if we were to, and I'm not recommending that or suggesting that we should, but if you had a security or even, police, you can't prevent people from being there if they're not doing anything, is the point. You can't kick anyone out. It's a public park, unless it has to be open.
Okay.
So any, the complaints we've gotten wouldn't solve for that. Let's just say
I
that.
know. Here, let's as an example, we have Career Day coming up. So we all know that we've been in classrooms, and Kids are boisterous. They, when I was in the classroom on career day, if there was a substitute teacher, and that happened to be a substitute teacher in that class, I basically had to be the teacher keeping the students, right? Everyone knows, right? That I had one kid come back from the restroom, and before he sat down, he slapped another kid on the head. I mean, just things like that. It's, we have unruly kids, and, it's just human nature, plus also since COVID and all, it's, there are social issues, and we need putting older kids with younger kids and all. It requires monitoring.
What did you want to say, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I was going to repeat a little bit of what Commissioner Joseph said. Can we increase security first before we talk about closing the park? I've been there many times. I've sat there with my kids, waiting for my other kid to come out of school. I've enjoyed sitting there a lot. And obviously, it's a park that is for the entire city. I understand the security concerns, but if there's a security concern, can we look at ways to increase security where we mitigate the issue?
But you
and
won't
if
be-
it doesn't mitigate the issue, then we could have another
But
discussion.
you won't be able to stop, and this is where, that's the whole point. There is, as far as I know, nothing illegal is happening at the park. The parents are concerned that there are adults coming to the park without children and are sitting at the park.
And that's why we have security.
You can't kick somebody out for just sitting there.
Understood.
That's what I'm saying.
Understood,
So-
but that's, you have security to prevent anything wrong from happening.
What did you want to?
Because then you're keeping other people out that
We're
would
being
like
proactive.
to be there with their kids, grandparents that would like to sit there, wait for the other child to come out, or after school, they like to sit there, and, just have some fun with their children or grandkids. So I think we need to discuss this. Perhaps we could, look at increasing security. So obviously, people are more at ease. I understand the issue because, I've been to the parks, all of the parks, many times. I've spent a lot of time there. So that's my opinion. I think we should perhaps look at increasing security. I don't know if it's a collaboration between the school and the city, but maybe we should have that conversation.
I think it needs to be more like a hall monitor.
We could look into that.
Again, I just want to remind you, it does not address the concern that the current group of parents have. But Commissioner Viscar, if you can just
I
add.
just had a question for Commissioner Stuyvesant, because she said you could be somebody like watching the children in aftercare, but you can't come in. But it would be open to everybody during aftercare hours, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so,
because the aftercare is at 1:50 when the little ones get out. So if it's closed until 3.
oh, I
the-
see what you mean.
What I'm saying is that then you're going to have the aftercare kids in the playground or whatever inside the campus that is closed, and everybody else that got actually kicked out because now they cannot be inside because it's closed until 3, they're going to be on the other side, waiting until it is open at 3 or whatever it is the time.
Yeah, I had misunderstood you.
No,
that's
yeah,
right. Okay, thank
that
you.
is. And another personal note, my 50-year-old boy is the babysitter of my 5-year-old boy. So it is about education, about the home. So boys also, 15-year-old boys can be very good with the little ones as well. So it's not always that they are running on top of them or whatever.
Right, no,
Yeah.
and that's not what this is. The concern from the group of parents is not about the older kids or about anything that's illegal. It's just the separation that they have requested of not having people outside of the school to have access, such close access to their children while their children are in school. So I don't want to continue with this. I just wanted to ask the city manager, do you have enough information from us to move forward to perhaps, sit down with some of these parents to try to work this out? Because, this is certainly not something that we should be solving. You can come back to us with a recommendation.
Yes, Mayor, I'll be happy to sit down with any of the parents that want to sit with us.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, are we okay continuing on? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Next item, please.
Next item is 3C, donations to 501c3s, nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, so this basically stems from last year where donations coming from the city were canceled or paused. And I think that we should consider implementing donations again. I think the city's in a good financial position where we're going to be able to help nonprofit organizations, people in need, et cetera. But obviously, there was a reason why those donations were paused. I think we lacked that criteria. We lacked, very clear policy on how we should choose and donate money to entities. So I just wanted to bring that up. I believe that we are all in agreement that we are in a position to help, some nonprofit organizations. But obviously, there's got to be a set of rules and criteria that are going to be implemented and are going to be the constructs of our policy. I think there should be an application process. We do have an application, so that way we could vet these organizations. Obviously, organizations have to be nonprofit. There's got to be a percentage that is set, that a percentage of the overall budget, percentage limits, an amount that is destined to one single organization. We got to talk about repeat donations, and then also we got to make sure there's no conflicts of interest. So these are some things that just come to mind, but obviously, I'd like to see if the rest of the commission is in agreement, and then we could continue this conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yes, I would like to agree that we need to set parameters so that we can gauge one request against another. And yes, I had some dissatisfaction myself over this past year with the process. I believe that there were some requests that should have been met that weren't, and I look forward to resolving this issue.
If I can get just clarification from the city attorney, because I know that this came up, again, back to the standard of having a municipal purpose. Does anything preclude us from doing something like this?
No, I mean, you can certainly set up some criteria. It may be in the factor of, what criteria, or I think the city manager and I were going to work on that. I think we came up with a quick list last time to expend the money that was left over before the end of the fiscal year. But certainly, you'd be permissible to do that. There may be some that are impermissible. I can't think of an example now, but there's some that may not have a municipal purpose. Generally, you can usually find a municipal purpose, but certainly that would be one of the criteria. But no, I don't think there's anything that would preclude you from doing that. Again, Dara mentioned just under, again, to Commissioner Lama's point last year that we can't give to religious organizations. But beyond that, pretty much, as long as it benefits your residents and there's a municipal purpose that you deem exists, you're fine.
Okay, well, I think that for me, the concern is, once you open up that sort of Pandora's box, then you get everyone coming asking for donations, so that becomes challenging. If the city manager would like to chime in, please.
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to share with you that last year when we started giving out some donations, we were bombarded with, I was having requests for donations almost every other day. And so the donations ranged from now up until including recently anywhere from, a couple of $100 to the last request was for $66,000. So it's such a very wide parameter that any of those donation monies were not budgeted for this year. So if it's your desire as a group for us to go back, I can share with the city attorney, and I did have some discussions about it, but we would have to come back to you with some sort of budget amendment going forward if that's your direction to us. And then, as part of that, I would also like to build in that any of those requests, if this is your will, come back to you ultimately for approval.
Yes.
So that there wouldn't be, I don't want it to be an administrative process where it ends up.
Well,
with me.
that's my concern as well. I don't want it to be ours either, because I get requests all the time, mostly for in-kind donations, wanting to use Gateway Center for various events. And so it becomes very challenging, and I would really defer to staff to make a recommendation of what's the best way to go forward, because I don't feel comfortable doing a budget amendment. If we were to do this, I would want it for the next fiscal year. But Commissioner Viscar, what are your thoughts?
Well, I had recommended criteria the last go-around. I think it was that it's obviously the municipal purpose, that it be a 501c3, and that you're not donating back-to-back to the same organization so they don't become dependent on, and that we're not just essentially funding an organization. And I don't remember if there was a fourth one, but that's what I recall. So I'm okay with our criteria. I would favor, here's my thing, and I don't want to go into a whole thing with the budget because, but we shaved the budget down to be able to justify bringing down the millage, which, as you guys may recall, I did not agree with. And so if you're going to do that, then you take your medicine, right? You don't get to lower the millage and pat yourself on the back and then amend it as we go along. This is one of the things that was sacrificed to be able to lower the millage. So if you want to give donations, you give it when you account for it in the budget. And I would say that for just about any other amendments that we would recommend. And it's unfortunate because we have the money, right? The money's there.
If I would like to hear first.
Process is process.
Let Commissioner Stuyvesant, nothing? Okay, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So I would just like to add that, yes, obviously this will be for municipal purpose, and we're talking about $50,000. So it's not like it's going to be a huge budget amendment if we do decide to do it this year. And regarding the, let's say, the operations part of this, the administrative process of it, we'll have to consider this on a first come, first served basis. Once we open it up, I understand that we're going to get a flood of applications, and we will have to, us as a commission, decide which one is the most worthy one, or the entity that has the better need, let's say, or the most need. So, it's going to be work, but then we got to think about it from the other side, that, you have these organizations that are doing great work, they're helping people, and they do need some assistance. So we got to look at it that way too. And that's the purpose why I brought this up. It's going to be work, but I think it's going to be worthwhile that we do that, because we're going to be helping people in need. So
Yeah.
we got to look at
One
it
second.
from that angle as well.
If I may,
Yes, please.
okay. So we are gonna talk about something in the budget in the 6:30 meeting, but coming back about the millage rate, in saying that we have to shave it down, if we knew that we are gonna be discussing at 6:30, that we have to do an adjustment, because now we have extra $10.343923 million, 10 plus millions that are gonna come inside now the budget. Maybe that conversation that we were having about 1.6 is gonna be silly, or the millage rate. So, but we are gonna be talking about detail about this later on today. I'm gonna give you guys my take about this. But yes, right now we were supposed to be in 113 and we are gonna be in 123. So, but this is gonna be coming later today. So we have to be a little bit more involved. And I wish the people get involved into the budget when we're going to be talking about budget and the discussions, because It is important, so I'm going to leave it there.
So I just want to, because it's already 4:30, I want to see if we have a consensus to do consider a budget amendment for donations. I am not supportive of that, but obviously it's based on the will of the commission. So how does everyone else feel about
Okay.
that?
So I would be for it, but I think because we have so many organizations coming forward, I think we have to have some guidelines as to maybe within a quarter of the year, and then we're finished with them. We have to have some timeline. It can't be throughout the year, because then we're just, first of all, we don't have a large budget for it, and, you know, depending.
budget for it
Right, okay, yes. But if we, you know, add a certain amount for donations, we have to have,
criteria for it.
yeah, the criteria and the time frame for, you know, the requests, that we have it not be throughout the year.
That will be part of the
Those are
criteria.
details that we could discuss, but yeah.
Yes.
I
Alright,
think the
so,
question is there a will from the commission to?
Right, that's my
Yeah,
question.
so-
Go ahead.
So
Okay.
I just,
So for me, I say yes,
Me too.
for this year.
for
For
this year.
hearing.
Okay, and so I'm a no, just so that it's clear. Commissioner Viscara?
I'm leaning no.
Okay, so then you're the tiebreaker.
I have to see what is the proposal and the recommendation from the staff.
So then explore it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have enough from us to be able to, or you need more?
I think I have enough to, I think, based on our discussion, what I will do is bring you back some sort of a resolution that establishes the parameters of a donation policy.
Okay.
I think we start with that.
That sounds good.
And then we can move from there.
Okay.
All right,
Perfect.
all right. Are we okay to continue? We have 2 more items?
Yes.
Yes, everyone?
Sure.
Commissioner Viscara, yes?
I can't vote
All
against
right.
myself.
All right, go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, 3D is a discussion
Yes.
regarding the increased compliance for the motorized scooter ordinance.
Yes, okay. So, oh, Susan, Stan, do you happen to know how many people now have registered their scooters? I know it was a low number.
I believe I was looking for, let's see, I think it's somewhere around 220 people total.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and any guess as to how many scooters we have running through the city?
That
know there are so many.
I'm sorry, I do not know the
Yes,
answer to
okay.
that.
So there are a lot of people that are now not in compliance. Is that something we can all agree upon?
So just so we get clarification, can you just remind us of the timeline as far as when we created this ordinance, what was the expectation as far as what happens within the educational timeframe?
Yes, so our initial approach was to provide some information through social media and other measures that would let the residents know of the registration process. And then, after the education, and I think the police have been very proactive in their approach to letting people know the requirements, that we were looking at towards the end of March to actually do some enforcement.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
education first,
Yes.
and then enforcement more towards the ends of March,
Right.
the end of March.
Okay, so from this time forward, we need to maybe emphasize more the real need to get people in to register their scooters.
And that's what we're doing, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we are, proactively.
Right, perfect. Okay.
Mauricio?
The next item, Mayor, is item 3E, which is discussion supporting a letter to Florida Representative Basabe regarding the Florida House Bill 437 as it relates to anchoring limitation areas.
Yes, okay. So this is my discussion item, and apparently Sunny Isles Beach was left out from this bill. And what I was told is that because so many cities were interested in being included, that we have to submit for our city to be included in the next session. And we also have a change in House speakership for someone who is more Miami-based, which would, I believe, lend to our inclusion in the next additions to the bill. So I'm asking that the city comprise a letter to Representative Basabi and to the incoming Speaker of the House for Sunny Isles to be included in this anchoring bill, anti-anchoring bill.
Mr. City Attorney, what is this anchoring, what is the bill, and how would we participate in this?
So the bill deals with anchoring limitation areas, which Dunfermline Bay is not one of. Counties can create anchoring limitation areas. So just as an example, you can only anchor for 45 days within a 6-month period, I believe it is, so it's twice a year for no longer than 45 days. The only drawback to that is that those are typically advertised once created, because they're created under Florida statute by counties. So if we're included, it's fine. We have regulation power at that point, but they're also advertised, so you may end up having, people coming to anchor. But essentially, correctly, the only areas that are the changes to the statute this year is to change the way the exempted areas are listed in the bill. And if we were to be included, the county would have to essentially be agreeable to us being an anchoring limitation area, which I don't know that they wouldn't be. And then from that point on, we'd have some ability to regulate under Florida statute.
Right. And if we don't present this bill, our letter to be included, then we're left out, and we have people anchoring out in our backyards on a continuing basis, the same as we have now.
Right. They'll just, under the anchoring limitation area, they will be able to anchor by law, but they'll be limited 45 days at a time.
I believe the statute that's working its way through is less than 45 days, isn't it?
The one that I pulled had 45, but it
Yeah.
changes as it goes.
Right,
so
exactly.
They may have more information than we do.
Yes.
All right, this is for next year.
That would be for next session,
Yeah,
correct.
well, I would like to first see it,
See,
whatever it is that's being proposed.
well, you received it in the last commission meeting, the bills. It was
For
the
next year?
FWC bill. No, it's the current bill, but there were going to be additions each session for cities that want to be included. So if we don't present, then we're not included for the next bill.
Okay, but it's
So we have to
still,
present ahead of time.
all right, but it's a 45-day limit.
For anchoring?
Yes.
No, I don't believe that's the case. It's
Okay.
going to be,
Under the statute, again, the only changes being made are to some locations.
and it also has to do with the filling of vessels with gas cans that would not be allowed.
That's the other bill that you had.
The
right.
WC bill.
So it amends 327.4108, which basically says that, again, a county can establish anchoring limitation areas.
And then you have to move within a mile, I believe.
So a person may not anchor a vessel for more than 45 consecutive days in a 6-month period in an anchoring limitation area established pursuant to this subsection. So I can provide you copies of what's currently out there. Again, to whom you're speaking with, they may have more information than we currently have as to what they're proposing.
I believe the day limit is being also changed.
Right, so we wouldn't have access to that, but I
Correct.
can provide what's out there now.
Yeah, but right now it's 45 days.
Currently,
Right.
yes.
Right, okay, so,
But we are not included, so the letter would ask that we be included in the next proposal.
which would still be 45 days, though.
Well, I'm working on it.
All right, so I don't, not exactly, does anyone have any questions? I'm not exactly sure what we would be sending then.
We would be sending a bill asking that
You would be sending a bill.
well, a letter,
Uh-huh.
asking that in the next update to the statute, that Sunny Isles Beach water areas be included, Dunfoundling Bay being one of them, included in the anti-anchoring and anti-fueling bills.
I'm okay with that.
I'm looking at the city attorney, and I just want to get clarification on what that would look like.
It's hard to tell. Again, we would have to be designated an anchoring limitation area, which we are not. So it wouldn't be necessarily through this bill. We'd still have to go through a process with the county to be an anchoring limitation area. Again, I don't know what changes are going to come from here to there. Currently, the statute says 45 days, twice a year. But again, I can forward all that to you, and you can take a look at it if you want.
Okay, so this is not something we need to do today.
Well, I would like to get it done today to have the commission vote on it and have a letter prepared.
We're not voting right now, we're just
Well,
discussing, but
yes,
I,
to move it on to this evening's session in order to have a letter prepared and go to Tallahassee as soon as possible, so that it's there.
I don't have enough information to be able to even say yes or no. What,
It's
I
quite
don't-
clear as to,
Commissioner
mean-
Vizcarra?
So I don't think this is something that would require a vote anyway, Jerry, but I
Okay.
would support the goal, right? To have the city included and to make us, want to include us in the county list or whatever.
right now, it's only
Um,
Miami Beach that's included.
So, I mean, I think we can give direction to take steps necessary to make that happen, and if that happens to be a letter or whatever, then that's what it is.
Right,
But
that's what I
don't
was
think
told.
none of us have anything like in front of us. I know you gave it last month, but I didn't realize it was connected, so. But we could do that, right? We can give direction to move it and make that happen, and if that includes a letter, so be it.
Yes.
But it wouldn't be anything that we vote on.
Okay,
It's not a
well,
resolution.
Okay,
Right.
so we would be giving them direction to have a letter prepared to send to Tallahassee.
And whatever else, right? Because do we need to be part of the county?
Well, again, that's an involved process. You'd have to make application, because counties are really the only ones that can create these anchoring limitation areas.
Do we have to do that first?
But these are state waters, aren't they? Dunfoundling Bay
No,
is state
well-
waters?
Right, but they, through the intercoastal system again, I'd have to look at it again, but it is county-created. And just including us in the revisions to 327-401 wouldn't necessarily,
So how did it work that Miami Beach was included?
because they're already an anchoring limitation area. And it's not all of Miami Beach.
Right. Well, whatever was included.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something, Vice Mayor?
No, I'm just trying to understand. So it looks like there's a process where we need to write to this county or the state?
No, it's actually, it's by ordinance, but by county ordinance. But again, if they already have one with included areas, they may be able, I don't know what the county's process would be in that regard.
All right, so
if they just
why don't
amend
we
it.
look through to understand the process?
Right.
Well, I'll be in favor of having that
Right.
designation
Exactly.
and
Right.
going through the process
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that people don't anchor there for longer than X
Yes.
hours. So obviously there's no, hazard or there's no noise
they're also
complaints to
there-
these houses or whatever.
They're
yeah.
emptying their
Or
refuge
whatever
in the
they're
bay
doing
and
is not, hampering us as a city or our waters or whatever it is. Yeah.
Because the current proposed revisions would make the sections of Biscayne Bay and Miami-Dade County that are within 200 yards of any part of the shore of the city of Miami Beach lying between State Road A1A and State Road 112 to be grandfathered in as an anchoring limitation areas.
Okay, so that's what we're looking to
Within-
have on Dunfoundling
Right.
Bay.
So we can try to summarize it and distribute it to you.
Good.
All right, so I think we're good. We have now I thank you, and if everybody would please like to join us at 6:30, we'll do this all over again.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.